my property!
I am Chief Jaleesa Renner.
A black woman was stretched out beside her backyard pool, sunlight glistening across the water as she sipped from a tall glass of iced tea. The air was quiet, peaceful, the kind of calm she had worked her whole life to earn. This wasn't a hotel pool or a friend's property, it was hers. Her name was Chief Renee Carter. What most of the neighborhood didn't know, and what one particular neighbor was about to learn the hard way, was that Renee wasn't just any woman lounging in the sun. She was the brand new police chief, the first black woman ever to hold that position in the city of Brookhaven. But right now, Renee wasn't thinking about titles or duty. She wasn't signing reports, attending meetings, or delivering speeches. She was simply enjoying the rare chance to relax. Just a woman in her own swimsuit, on her own chair, in her own $1-million home. The backyard smelled faintly of jasmine, the sound of birds mixing with the occasional splash of pool water. For a brief moment, Renee forgot about the stress of her badge. She just breathed. That's when he appeared, a man in his 50s, pale skin, thinning hair under a baseball cap, and a permanent scowl etched across his face. His name was Douglas Kane, but in the neighborhood, people whispered another name behind his back, the Hawk. He had a reputation for watching everyone's movements, filing complaints about anything he didn't like, and treating the block as though it belonged to him. Douglas stopped at the gate, his eyes narrowing as if he'd caught a criminal red-handed. He raised his phone high and barked across the yard. "Hey, who are you? What are you doing here?" Renee slowly removed her sunglasses, her gaze cool and steady. She let a beat of silence stretch before answering. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Douglas snapped. "Tell me what you're doing trespassing on this property." "This property?" Renee asked, sitting up a little straighter. "It's mine." Douglas let out a sharp laugh, but there was no humor in it. "Don't give me that. This was the Martins' house. They moved out months ago. I know everyone who belongs here, and I've never seen you before." Renee sighed softly. She had moved in just 2 weeks earlier, paying in full. "Sir, I suggest you leave now. You're making a mistake." "No," Douglas growled, "you're making a mistake." His thumb stabbed at his phone. "I'm calling the police." Renee leaned back in her chair. She could have ended this in 1 second. She could have pulled her badge. But instead, she stayed silent. She wanted to see what would happen next. 10 minutes later, the sound of tires crunching against the driveway shattered the calm. 2 police cruisers rolled up, lights flashing but sirens silent. Out stepped 2 officers, both white, both carrying reputations that traveled faster than their footsteps. Officer Blake Handley and Officer Trent McCoy. Everyone in Brookhaven knew them, not for kindness, not for fairness, but for quick tempers and quicker assumptions. They didn't bother knocking on the front door. They didn't check records or call dispatch for confirmation. They marched straight through the side gate, entering the backyard like they already owned the place. "Hands where I can see 'em," Handley barked, his hand already hovering near his holster. Renee looked up slowly from her lounge chair, still in her swimsuit, still calm. She blinked once, deliberately. "Excuse me?" "We got a call about a trespasser," McCoy snapped. "Stand up, now. You're not supposed to be here." "This is my house," Renee said, her voice level, though the steel beneath it was unmistakable. "Don't argue. We don't want trouble. Just cooperate and let us escort you off the property." Renee rose to her feet, her sunglasses dangling from her hand. "You'll do no such thing," she said sharply. That was when McCoy reached out, fingers aiming for her arm. He expected her to flinch, to freeze, to obey. Instead, Renee pivoted, twisting away from his grip with a precision that left him stumbling forward. "Keep your hands off me," she ordered, her voice slicing through the humid air. The officers froze. They weren't used to resistance, especially not like this. "You just assaulted an officer," Handley growled, his face flushing red. "No," Renee said firmly. "What I just did was protect myself." She reached down into her beach bag, pulled out a sleek black wallet, and flipped it open. The golden badge inside gleamed in the sunlight. "Chief Renee Carter," she announced, her tone cold and commanding. "Brookhaven Police Department, badge number 2291. Silence. For a heartbeat, the backyard itself seemed to hold its breath. McCoy's face paled. Handley blinked rapidly, like his mind was scrambling for footing. "You're the new chief?" he stammered. "That's right," Renee replied, her words cutting clean. "And you two just stormed onto my private property. No warrant, no questions, no verification. You acted on nothing but a stereotype." They said nothing, but their shame was written across their faces. "Let me guess," Renee continued, "you didn't think a black woman could own a home like this, just like the neighbor who called you. And because of that assumption, you're about to pay for it." Handley opened his mouth, desperate to defend himself. We were only responding to a call." "And you responded with force, without protocol," Renee snapped. "You grabbed me, you disrespected me, in my own home." She turned her head slightly and pointed to the small red blinking light near the roof of her house. "And every second of it was caught on my security cameras." Both officers glanced up. Their faces went pale. "You have 5 minutes," Renee said, pulling out her phone with one hand, "to call your supervisor and to report exactly what just happened here, or I'll do it for you." "Chief, please," McCoy muttered, fumbling for his radio. Across the street, Douglas Kane stood on his porch, arms crossed, a smug smile twisting across his face. He thought he had won. He thought his phone call had proven him right. But that smile faltered when 3 black SUVs pulled up to his curb. Code enforcement, housing authority, a sheriff's deputy. One officer with a thick folder stepped forward. "Douglas Kane?" he called out. Douglas swallowed. "Yes?" "You've had multiple complaints filed against you. Harassment, discrimination, racial profiling, and after today, this is the final straw." Douglas's eyes darted nervously. "What? No, that's crazy." But before he could finish, Renee walked calmly across the street, now fully dressed, badge gleaming in her hand. "You picked the wrong neighbor," she told him coldly.
Douglas opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His face turned blotchy red, words dying in his throat. "You lied to the police," Renee continued, her voice steady, sharp. "You made a false report. You put me, your own neighbor, in danger. And worse, you forced your lie into action. You caused officers to violate a citizen's rights, my rights, the rights of the chief of police." The code enforcement officer closed his thick folder and spoke with finality. "You're being evicted. 30 days. Pack your things." Douglas staggered, his legs giving way as he dropped to the curb. No, this isn't fair." "Fair?" Renee said, tilting her head. "You've spent years harassing people who look different from you. Black kids riding bikes, Latino families walking their dogs, even your own mail carrier. You've made a sport out of calling the cops, but today you called the wrong one." His protests went unanswered. Neighbors stood outside their homes now, watching silently. Some shook their heads. None stepped in to help. Karma had arrived, and this time it wasn't subtle. Meanwhile, back in the backyard, Handley and McCoy stumbled through nervous radio calls, their hands shaking, their voices breaking. Supervisors arrived within minutes, tension written across their faces as they reviewed the live security feed Renee handed over. By the next morning, Brookhaven woke to headlines splashed across every local and national outlet. New police chief mistaken for trespasser at her own home. Chief Renee Carter shows badge after officers confront her in backyard. Neighbor's false call sparks racial profiling storm. Clips from Renee's security cameras went viral online. Millions of views poured in overnight. The footage showed the officers barging through her gate. It showed one of them reaching for her arm. It showed her badge flashing like a blade in the sun, and their faces crumbling with realization. At City Hall, the mayor, Eleanor Briggs, a sharp-spoken woman in her 60s, stood behind a podium. Cameras clicked furiously as she delivered her statement. "Yesterday's incident was unacceptable," the mayor declared. "No citizen, especially not the chief of police, should face that treatment. Brookhaven stands against racial profiling, and these actions will not be tolerated." Reporters shouted over each other. "Mayor, are the officers suspended?" "Yes," Briggs replied firmly, "effective immediately, pending full investigation. If the footage confirms misconduct, termination will follow." Meanwhile, across town, Douglas Kane's world collapsed further. Moving trucks lined his driveway. He shouted at the officers delivering his eviction notice. "I've lived here for 15 years. You can't do this." "You've spent 15 years harassing your neighbors," the sheriff's deputy replied coldly. "And now your neighbors will live without fear." One by one, people passed by his house, shaking their heads. Not a single person offered him a hand. Even the elderly woman next door, once his ally, stood silently with folded arms. At the Brookhaven Police Department, Renee entered the main hall in full uniform. Every step echoed, drawing the eyes of her officers. Some nodded with respect, others lowered their gazes, ashamed. She stopped at the front of the meeting room, facing them all. Her voice carried like thunder. "What happened yesterday wasn't just about me," she began. "It was about every black man and woman who's been told they don't belong. Every child told they were in the wrong place. Every neighbor judged before being known. This department will change, and it starts now." The room was silent, heavy with her words. "This is about respect," Renee continued, "about justice. If any of you can't uphold that, turn in your badge and your gun today." No one moved. Slowly, applause began to rise. Officers clapped, some even standing, their respect undeniable. Later that evening, Renee returned to her pool. Same chair, same glass of tea. But this time, she wasn't alone. Across the fence, a little black bro peeked shyly and waved. "Hi, my name's Amina. My mom says you're the boss of the police." Renee smiled warmly. "That's right, sweetheart. And you know what? One day, you can be better than me." The girl nodded eagerly. And in that small moment, hope bloomed. Because for every Douglas, for every Handley and McCoy, there was an Amina. And Amina was watching. Tucked inside the box was a silver medal. It read, "Strength in Truth." If this story made you pause or gave you chills, hit that subscribe button right now. At Unknown Stories, we share voices that matter, stories that stay with you forever.